Hey there, I'm Ashley, and this is New Day with Ashley. If you're looking for inspiration to make a difference and create lasting impact, then you're in the right place. Get ready to be encouraged by the stories of my guests who have taken risks, overcome challenges, and created opportunities. It's time to make the most of your new day. My guest today comes with over 25 years of experience in the modeling, acting, fashion, and makeup artist world. Natalie Sparrow, owner of Natalie Sparrow Management, model and talent agency in Fargo, has developed an experience in the industry unlike anyone else or anywhere else.
She says to me, she's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, I'm like, "Hold it together, Natalie, hold it together." And I was like, my model just made Harper's Bazaar. And I lost it. I start crying. I'm like, this has been what I've been working for 21 years. I was like, I don't want to get emotional right now, but this is what I've been dreaming of for 21. Because keep in mind, my major was fashion design, you know.
Right.
And so, I mean, I've been watching fashion shows in New York Fashion Week since I was 14 when my dad would record them off of CNN House of Style. And my biggest dream came true.
Wow.
And I've had models walk New York Fashion Week before, but this now is documented.
Right.
You know, like not just, okay, here we found it on Getty Images miraculously.
Yeah. But
I mean, literally
print.
We can look up the designer and boom, there she is.
Wow.
And so that was...
Well, congratulations
to
you and your model. Yeah.
That was a very big, huge moment in my life. I started doing things like getting me into things backstage, like as a makeup artist. So my very first time going to New York Fashion Week, I was working for a cosmetic company. I was a freelance educator with them.
Okay.
And they allowed us to apply for a team to go work backstage New York Fashion Week. And it was bridal. So I'm like, okay, that's okay. If this is as close as I get to New York Fashion Week, fine, let it be, you know. And I get there, and I remember I was at the Gainsbourg Hotel, which later on the Kardashians filmed their show there. And I was sitting there and working on my models. Actually, it was right before all the models came in. We got all the makeup set up, very calm. And I called my husband and I said, if I cry every day, I get emotional about it still to this day, for the rest of my life, it's because the biggest moment of my life has just happened. Oh. And that was because I was at New York Fashion Week.
Yeah. You're like, this is a big moment. Like you've dreamt of this. Like
since I was 14.
Right.
Since I was actually before that when I was making Barbie doll clothes, you know. It was a very big moment because I'm just a small town girl who is voted most likely not to succeed.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the big time. And literally 2 months before that, I was like, it's okay if I never make it to New York Fashion Week. I'm going to be okay with that because I had a model who had just walked it. And she didn't know. She was like, I don't know what New York Fashion Week is. She's like, I don't know, Natalie. I'm just doing like 10 shows. And I was like, oh my gosh, girl, you're walking New York Fashion Week right now. How are you not excited?
Right.
And she didn't really know what it meant. We didn't have social media in those days. So my biggest moment for me personally at that, you know, that I got to experience. And then from that moment on, I was able to work backstage in New York Fashion Week shows. And that there was a show I walked, oh my gosh, big snowstorm. It was awful. I was alone. And I made a vow to myself. That was February. And I said, I will never come to New York Fashion Week alone ever again. I don't want to do this alone anymore. Okay. I vow to have models in these shows moving forward.
Right.
Because at that time, I only knew how to get me in, right? But by this point, now I was starting to ask the right questions. I was in with the team. This is like my third or fourth fashion week. And I was like, I asked the right questions, got the right connections. And by the following, so that was February. Okay. And I'm like, by, my apologies, that was September show. That one was not a snowstorm. So we were practicing for a bridal show on January 5th, and I had made a vow that by next year, within the next year, I would have models walking. And January 5th, and I can't recall which year it was, I'm starting rehearsal on a Sunday, of all things, which is crazy to me. And I get an email from a producer saying, I've approved 2 of your models to walk New York Fashion Week.
Wow.
And these are emerging designers, so they're not the big shows, but they're still big to me.
They're still there, yeah.
And I was like, on stage about to start rehearsal, and I was like, oh, I was totally going into full on panic, and I was like, oh my god, oh my gosh! I think I probably started crying, and I turned to the two models that were there, and I go, congratulations. You're rocking New York Fashion Week. And I think one of them was like not even sure if she really wanted to.
Oh, no.
And you're going in February. So my goal had already been achieved before I even felt it was supposed to be complete. It was within months that it happened. Not a whole year, within months.
Wow.
And that was something which will probably answer your next question, was always, when I look back and how did you do this, I look back and I think the only way that I was able to achieve what I was able to achieve, I achieved everything I ever set out to do and want, and even then some. Everything that was on my bucket list was achieved. And then some, with the exception of going to Greece. Still have not done that yet. But I did all that before I turned 40. Did all that before I turned 40. And the reason it all came together, I believe, was because I was manifesting what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to settle.
Right.
And it was like, well, if this is what it's going to be, I will accept this. If I am supposed to be at New York Fashion Week Bridal and that's what it is, I'll accept it. And then the doors open wide. Bigger and better things.
Yeah.
But it was, I didn't get, I mean, there's probably times I got really greedy, but I didn't, like, I will admit I'm not somebody who revels in the moment and stays in it. I'm always like, okay, what next?
Sure. Okay.
I have a tough time celebrating because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just achieved that. I got to move on. What else? What am I going to do next? So I have a very difficult time with that. I've had many times of therapy where they're like, appreciate what you just did.
Let's celebrate this.
Stop for a moment. But I always had a fear of what if it's not good enough. Good enough was always my mantra in college and high school. My mom even said, I'm an underachiever. It's all, that's just how I rolled until I started my agency. And I was like, what if it's not good enough? What if I have moms coming after me and telling me I wasn't good enough? Because I had that. What if I have people, when I walk off the fashion show after I produced it and they say it's not good enough? Because I had that. And I always had to try to be better and bigger because of my fear of failing, failing to let people, fear of letting people down.
Oh, okay.
My other fear.
Yeah.
Of letting people down. Because now I had the pressure of
all these people.
Parents, grandmas. And now we have the pressure of reviews on Google.
Sure,
and social media, right. That I have to now be afraid of. But it was always like what I believe helped me get to those points was I have to achieve the next step. Otherwise, I won't be good enough.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's a lot of, I don't know if it's women in general or, I mean, both, but all of us have that of, like I don't know if you follow the Enneagram.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah,
okay. So I'm a 3, I'm an achiever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so, yeah,
you are.
If,
I can tell that.
if I'm not productive enough in the day, I failed.
Yeah.
If I, I mean.
I wasn't built like that initially. Mm-hmm. Again, everything was only good enough. I was like, that's okay. That's good enough. I mean, literally my mom would come after me all the time. Why isn't it always just good enough for you? I'm like,
yeah, it's so interesting how you kind of like,
I had to, that. Because there were enough times where I was reprimanded for who I was and what I wasn't doing good enough that I was like, crap, if I'm going to keep going, I got to change.
Sure.
Which was not necessarily a good way to live because it affected me. It wasn't who I was, so it affected me. It affected my my mental health.
Yeah.
It affected my anxiety, which I didn't know I had for a long time.
Sure.
I know I was misunderstood and misinterpreted and many times for a lot of years, especially when my kids were little. And I've had to learn how to overcome that, which was something I had a tough time with.
And then very publicly, too.
Very publicly, yeah. And my mental health was something I wanted to ignore, and I wanted to not confess to because we were not supposed to be vulnerable, and you're supposed to be tough just suck it up and don't cry. And I remember sometimes when I'd cry in front of people, they're like, well, you really are a softie. You're not as mean as I thought you were. And I'm like, no, I'm a baby. But I had to be tough to get through all that.
Right.
I remember an agent.
Well, I was going to say from all that.
When you deal with New Yorkers, you for sure have to. I remember an agent in New York, first of all, telling me where to go and telling me what to do off, and hung up the phone on me and called me back like 10 minutes later. I'm like, now I can talk to you. And he was like, oh my gosh.
What just happened? Yeah. I'm from North Dakota, not used to this.
And then I was told to get a backbone. And I remember I was like, okay, I will figure out how to get a backbone.
Oh, wow.
Yes. There's a lot of abuse that I went through, which caused a lot of anxiety, but I hid that. There's a lot of abuse I received from, people in the industry, from models and actors and parents and aunts and uncles and grandmas. I'm like, you weren't even there.
Oh.
And a lot of name calling.
Sure.
I mean, because obviously they're going to point the finger at somebody if their dream didn't happen the way they wanted it. I understand. But I can't do everything.
Right.
I can only be the GPS.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's sitting in the passenger seat saying, make a legal U-turn. Turn right here.
Yeah.
And the talent and the model is the one who has their foot on either the gas pedal or on the brake.
Right. And you've brought them to these opportunities that wouldn't have existed before.
I try.
Yeah.
My mantra, my mission statement for years, and I've kind of let it go by the wayside because nobody cares about mission statements anymore, but was my, I paraphrase because I can't remember exactly what it was, but my biggest mission was to give you an experience.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a famous model or actor. And of course, I want you to be a famous model or actor.
Right.
Like, hello, I'm going to live vicariously through you. That's my ultimate goal in life. But at the end of the day, my mission was to let you have an experience that would be unlike anything else.
Wow. What a great episode. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always so inspiring sharing these stories. To listen to the full podcast, go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Remember to like and subscribe. I would love if you could leave me a 5-star review. This helps us reach and engage with more people. Join me next week, and until then, make the most of your new day.